Oh, no, there's no. We'll turn when somebody starts talking.
That's why Matt told us to sit in front.
Right, hi, everybody.
Wow. When you guys keep talking, yeah, you'll be on the screen for you. All right, it's 7 o'clock. Nice big crowd today.
Yay.
Good to see everybody. We will all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christie, roll call, please.
Mr. Dombrowski.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Keeskin.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Hutchinson.
Here.
Mr. Bryant.
Here.
Mrs. O'Grady. Here.
Okay. We have an agenda at our place with.
You do. So we have a lot of updates for you. So let me run through them really quick. You have a new agenda. On that new agenda is reflected a change. There is no need for a non-renewal resolution. So any documentation around that has been removed. You have an updated personnel report. You have now exhibit numbers that are all out of alignment because of those agenda changes. So we'll be sure to kind of update those as we go. And then exhibit G has been updated and Kurt Hintz will be here to kind of talk more in depth about that. So those are the changes to your material.
Any questions on that? Nope. If not, I'd be looking for a approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Andy and a second by Nanette. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, I'd be looking for an approval of the minutes from the February 22nd Board of Education meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Roger and a second by Jen. No change, nobody saw any changes to those minutes, correct? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
We have Nanette abstains. Christie, if you have that.
I got it.
Everybody else was a yes. Okay, motion passes. Next, I'll be looking for an approval of the minutes from the February 22nd closed session meeting.
Make a motion. I'll second.
We got a motion by Andy, a second by Ken. All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
One abstention.
Yep.
Motion passes. Correspondence?
Yes, we have one. Dear Administration and Board of Education, my family and I thank you so much for all your support and the generous donation in Todd's memory. I am very blessed to work in this district and to have all the support, kind words, prayers, and thoughts. You have all made getting through this much easier. Sincerely, Cheryl Schrupp and family. So Cheryl is a long-term paraprofessional here at Lotus, one amazing lady, and she lost her husband Todd suddenly, not too long ago. So she's getting through it as a trooper, as she always is, wrapped in support from her 114 family. Yeah.
Any audience comments? Don't everybody jump at once.
You can also let us know in the chat if you're joining us virtually, if you have audience comment.
Right? Anybody online? Comments right now? Nope.
Mr.
Okay.
Peters, you see anything? All right,
Okay, moving along.
and we will move on to my favorite part of every board meeting, which is student recognition. Woohoo! All right. So, and I know I see lots of smiling faces at home ready to share. And then I see lots of amazing, handsome, and beautiful faces in the room ready to share. So, student recognition, we will kick it off. Mr. Peters, do you want to say anything? Because Lotus typically goes first.
So tonight we have our first grade team being represented. We have a mixture of in-person and online. And then for specials, we are going to have a student being recognized from library. So I'll go ahead and recognize that student when the time comes. So I'll turn it over to first grade first.
Okay, so I believe this gentleman is in the house. Is that you?
Sharp-dressed man.
Yes. All right. So, Miss Groot, tell us about your student.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
you can hear me? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Eduardo, I can't see you, sweetie, but I heard sharp-dressed man, so I'm sure you're looking fabulous.
Hold on, we're gonna bring him up. You gotta see him.
Oh, okay.
See where the camera is.
Say hello.
Look at
Oh, Eduardo, you look so handsome, buddy. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am going to do some bragging about you, Mr. Eduardo Cervantes Paz. I am here tonight to recognize Eduardo because he truly is the definition of a Lotus All-Star. He is always demonstrating great character by being trustworthy, responsible, safe, and respectful. Eduardo is the perfect balance of hardworking super student and a friendly peer. In the classroom, he takes on assignments with enthusiasm and always being positive. Eduardo is kind and gentle to his peers and teachers, which may explain why he can work well with anyone. Eduardo has a great sense of humor and a passion for learning. He never gives up and speaks to advocate for himself and others. Eduardo has a big future ahead of him, and I am blessed to have him in my classroom this school year. Eduardo, you keep being amazing, and congratulations, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow in class.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Dallin. Miss Loger, I think that's you?
Yes, it is. Is Dallin there with you guys tonight?
No, Dallin is joining us virtually.
All right. I don't see him here, but hi, Dallin. You are joined. We have confirmation if he's here.
Mr. Peters is checking.
No, there is a phone. Somebody's on the phone.
Somebody's on the phone. It may be him, but we'll make sure we send this recording, Miss Logar.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I just want to give Dallin a huge congratulations. He came when I thought of student to recognize tonight because of his academic growth. He started grade not knowing a couple of his letter sounds, and he is now reading and comprehending grade level text. So that is huge for him, and he is excelling in his writing and along with his math, and I could not be more proud. But I cannot take all the credit because he was fortunate enough to work with my own kids.
Well, we're losing you, Miss Logar.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up
You're breaking
on us.
up on us, hon.
All right. Here, Mrs. Campwine, do you want to kind of take over?
Sure. I am just so proud of all the progress that Dallin has made. And he gives 100% every day when he comes to reading. And that is why he is being so successful this year. He is not only a hardworking student, but he's also so kind. And I couldn't be more proud of all the progress he's making. And I'm so glad I got to be a part of his first grade year and to see all the success he has.
Awesome. Congratulations. All right, Ms. Lumber, I'll bring Alan's medal down to you and we can get it to him tomorrow, okay? All right, next up, we have someone who's here. Come here, beautiful. Who do we have recognizing this amazing young lady, Ms. Scarpino?
Here, yes, I am lucky enough to be able to introduce Mila. Ms. Stramberg and I spoke about who to choose in our classroom, and the one person that we thought really stood out this year was Mila because she follows all of the Lotus expectations at all times. She's respectful to everyone, whether it's an adult or another student. She has good core values. Just today, some students were squabbling in class, and she said, tell the truth. It's not always best to tell the truth because you always get in trouble more if you don't tell the truth.
Amen,
And then she is always responsible, trying her best, doing her best work in class. And she is a kind friend, so caring. If anyone's ever hurt or needs help, she is right there trying to help them. And I just can't say more about Mia. I am sure she's going to go and do great things, and I can't wait till she becomes a fabulous fashion designer as she hopes to be, because hopefully by then you'll make some like elderly line of clothing. But I know you'll be doing great things, Mila, and we're so proud of you.
Way to go. Didn't know we should have anything. All right. Next up, we have Sawyer. Are you able to present for Sawyer, Mr.
Yeah, I
Pierce?
have the same thing that's up on the board, but
Okay,
it's probably
great.
easier for me to read it out loud. Miss Kim, our librarian, is not able to be here tonight because her own son is being recognized at an event. So we still like to recognize our student Sawyer. Sawyer, she says she's so proud of all the accomplishments thus far in first grade. You are an amazing reader, always eager to learn, respectful to your teachers, kind, and willing to help your classmates anytime. Your love for books is a wonderful gift. I look forward to helping you continue with lots of magical reading adventures here at Lotus. And just some of the quotes he loves to read. Reading makes me more happy. He set a goal for himself this year of 85% or higher on all his quizzes and tests, and he's averaging 94%, so he's well above the average. He's already read to this point 109,315 words. This is just first grade. And then his keyboarding accomplishments, he has 11 medals already, completed 132 activities, 5 words per minute with 100% accuracy.
Wow.
So nice job, Sawyer.
Way
Congratulations.
to go, Sawyer. Ms. Murphy, I think you might be up.
Miss Riley.
Are you going to tell us about Riley?
I am going to tell you all about
Where
Riley.
is Riley? I thought there she is. Tell us about this little one.
She is such a joy. She is always ready to help, whether that is me or somebody else. She's always asking if she can help. Any of her classmates, she's made lots of strides in reading and in math. And if anyone ever wants help with a word or is confused about directions, they're the first person they go to. And she's always more than friendly and happy to help them or help figure out a word. A few weeks ago, she sat during her center time and helped someone read a book that they were having a hard time with for the full 15 minutes.
Stop it.
Instead of
You did
reading
that?
her books, she made sure that they were getting the right letter sounds. So she is just amazing and fantastic and always happy and ready to work and just so supportive of everybody in our room. And I'm just really proud of her.
Thank you, Riley.
Congratulations. There you go.
All right. Mr. Peters, I think that's it for the Lotus crew this evening. All right, Mr. Sussy, you and Team Stanton.
Yeah, so our paraprofessional squad will be recognizing, I think at least 3 of our kids are here. Got 5 on the list. We have 4 paras, so to my left is Samantha Mantanis, Betty Swag, Kathleen Winkle, and Leah Falster. So which one of you will be recognizing? Am I going to get as many buses?
I don't know. That's the test.
No.
I've got Lily.
All right, so
All right.
So I wanted to recognize Lily today. It's been my first few months at Stanton, and she's really been somebody that stood out to me a lot. Lily is always prepared for her classes and is always engaged in the day's discussion. Lily is a rather quiet student sometimes, but she'll open up to you. She greets adults every morning and is social with all friend groups in her grade. She is never afraid to ask for help in math, and she is able to quickly redirect her thinking. Lily is a great role model for her 5th grade class, and we are so lucky to have her at Stanton.
All right. Yes. Yes.
I don't think Nancy's here today. Is
she
Nancy
is
on?
not, but I don't know if it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Let's pretend she's not.
Hi, Nancy.
We'll make sure she gets it.
I didn't really get to know Nancy much last year because we were online, but this year I got to meet her, and she is so fun. She has a sense of humor that you wouldn't be able to tell right away by looking at her. She's sweet, she's polite, and I love having her in the library. We did have Mr. Warnicki, who is the 6th grade para, write a little something about her, so I want to read it. Nancy consistently demonstrates respect and responsibility through her engagement with her teachers and classmates at Stanton. Always positive, with a smile on her face, she is never too shy to ask questions to ensure her understanding of course material. Nancy puts forth her best effort, and it does not go unnoticed. Additionally, she has a great sense of humor, and she is a joy to have in class. She sets an excellent example for all of her peers. So.
Any of you want to take a picture with me?
With you? Okay.
All right. I don't know if Jazz is here. Jazz? Yes, she is. There we go. Jazz Marie, rock star. Come on down. Hi, sweet thing.
So I get to be Jazz Marie's 1-to-1 para at Stanton. So I get this wonderful love bug all day long, every day. So Jazz Marie has shown outstanding progress with communication, motor skills, and social skills. She really cares about her friends and always tells them good job when they do something great. She is always so bubbly and loves talking to her teachers and friends with her communication device. If you need a laugh, Jazz Marie's giggles are very contagious. We are looking forward to seeing even more accomplishments from Jazz Marie.
More here, Jackson. One right over here.
There she is.
Now, this girl I know, and I've known her for a while.
You what? You stole a shirt?
I sold a shirt for my brother.
Good for you.
Okay. I feel like I need to stand on this side with you. So if you look at this face, she is just adorable. She is kind. She is respectful to everyone. And I'm so glad that she goes to Stanton and we got to meet her. But I'm going to read what Mr. Bailey said about you. He nominated you and he wanted to make sure you knew that you have shown the 3 tenets of Stanton Middle School time and time again during this school year: responsibility, respect, and safety. He says Elise can be seen holding the door daily for students to enter Miss Burnott's flex class, respecting each classroom by always being prepared and participating in class discussions, example, during Mrs. Anderson's 7th hour social studies class. Homework, study guides, a pencil, Elise has it. Respecting her fellow classmates and teachers by always speaking respectfully and positively, encouraging her groups to achieve their best. She can even be seen helping lead a second step discussion on paper-related issues with grace and understanding. It is our honor to recognize Elise as she reaches new levels.
Yeah.
And it's yours, I think.
Get so happy.
Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks again, Mrs. Slack.
Yes.
All right. Last but certainly not least, the Terry Berries are back. Who's going to talk about Logan?
I am.
All right.
Hi, Logan.
Hello.
Come on over. I thought of you right away when it was time to pick someone to honor tonight. And the main reason I thought of you was because you are always so personable with everyone. You always say hello. You always hold the door open for me and everybody. And you also always address everybody by name. I think that is such a nice quality, and it's such a mature thing in 8th grade that you can always step up and do that. I think that's awesome. So I just wanted to let everyone know that Logan is always willing to help fellow classmates. He works really well in groups with other kids. He's always willing to help students who are struggling. And he's just always so positive, and his positivity is totally contagious. And he's a wonderful role model for all the other students in class, and it's really a pleasure to have him. I work with him in 8th hour, and it's like the highlight of my day. And it's just great having you at Stanton. You're really a positive thing.
Betty, last chance.
Tomorrow.
You'll have a whole line, Jeff, if we start that. Okay, so with that, I think we got everybody who is on the slate to be recognized tonight. Thank you for being here. If you spoke about a student, more importantly, not that I don't love everybody that just spoke, thank you to our kids and families who are here or on the meet, because those of you who are here came out this evening. If it's okay with parents in the room, we have cupcakes, if you'd like to have one. Oh, he just went, what? She went, So if it's okay with the board, we'll take about a 5-minute break so we can get pictures, have cupcakes. Everyone obviously is welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I will tell you the most fun part just happened. All right, so we'll take a quick timeout and come back to order in about 5 minutes.
Would you like your folder back?
I'll take it back to work.
Like, it's a nice one.
don't have it tomorrow for the doctor's appointment. I know, I wrote it on the note for you. 'Cause I was like, if I don't write it on her daily note I sent home, I was like, I'm not gonna.
I just filled the wrong price, it's gonna be 3 million. Yeah, 5 was on the floor. Yeah, the new one was done.
Probably the solar probably came off. The solar was up. They were gonna look at it, but we weren't signing up to it. Must be out if the price came down.
This is when the beer starts blowing through the room. I'll take a picture. Not cold air. Not just air. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, I just didn't want you to get it all done.
Well, it's put out our biggest backyard.
Yeah, that's what
We'll put our solar farm up here.
I just wanted you to have a cupcake.
I can't do any more than 80 hours a week.
You did? Did you do it bracket? Did you?
No, we didn't.
Shouldn't sign those. I think that's how we're going to pay. We have Roger sign them. Quick place.
So it was the 14th that was the special meeting and the right now.
And I guess it's kind of the similar thing if it's one is approved, you weren't here. About the minutes.
So the meeting minutes from the 14th of February and the 22nd, when I was there, do I sign them? We could do additional
Roger was a vote. The resolution I would like you to sign, on the 14th, but the minutes, I think we can do a scratch out and have Roger sign them. Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Because the resolution, you would, it was approved by majority of the quorum. But to sign off on the minutes would make more sense. All right.
Matt? Ready to get going? Brian? Brian? Jen?
Oh, Betty. You're going, okay? Hey, Elise, take more cupcakes.
Have your friends.
Oh, good. Take them anyway, put them in the fridge.
Yeah, we told her that we take her to Gary.
Aw.
Yes.
I'll meet you there.
It dwindles quite a bit.
Nope. No. Depends how much you talk. No.
When's the moving date?
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, was it in 2022?
Yeah, that's not that bad.
All right, you ready?
Yep, okay. Next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda, which represents the accounts payable, the treasurer's report for January, 2 resolutions transferring money from the working cash fund to the education fund and transportation fund. And the accounts payable totaled $428,300.87. Do we have any questions on the consent agenda items? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Roger and a second by Nanette. Please pull the board.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Brady? Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
All right. This month, like every month, it's time for Mary Taylor Show.
Starring
Mary
Taylor.
Mary Taylor,
All right.
conveniently named.
Exciting month.
Exciting month.
Um,
And she has some guest appearances this evening. So get ready for your walk-up song.
You can pick it, or did I just send it?
You needed to send that, so now I get to just pick one.
Or a cupcake in the face. If we don't like what we hear.
Just got rough. Bring us back together, Mary.
Okay, well, let's start on the roof project.
Let's start on the roof. and work our way
We
down.
have no updates on that. We're still waiting for some final documents on that. So I'm hoping to have a little bit more information this week, or early next week. and Just to get
We're
this
hoping
closed
the-
out and resolved.
We're hoping the HVAC project doesn't last as long as the roof project.
Yes.
No pressure.
No pressure.
We have plenty
Dear
of,
God,
we have plenty
please.
of cupcakes too.
There's a cupcake in it for you.
I think
Per
Jeff
day.
has already threatened him as well. So, moving on to HVAC. We gave you all the documents, contracts, drawings, equipment lists. It has changed a little bit. The only, what changed on that was we pulled the solar board part of that out so that we would have a little bit more time to discuss it as a board. So what you have is the contract for the air conditioning and the chiller here. So that's what it includes. And Kurt and Jason are here today, just because they are, just for any kind of questions that you might have on the project, the contract, or anything. They come straight from the horse's mouth there. So if you have any questions, I'm sure they would be happy to answer.
Any highlights you want to share with us on the contract?
So Jason Andrews wasn't here last time, but obviously he's the smart one. He's our,
Clearly.
professional engineer, and so he's worked hand in hand with AMS to put together the project. Been out in the district numerous times. He's walked the buildings with Don. He's got a really good handle on what you have currently and what you need. Then he's kind of guided AMS to make sure that they're following how Performance Services does projects, which is a lot different than how AMS would just do a typical project. Because again, working with us, we have guarantees, right? We guarantee the design, we guarantee the outcome, we guarantee the change order. So we have to make sure that there's some steps that they're crossing all their T's and dotting all their I's and making sure. And so I feel really good, but obviously you want to point out a couple of major things that you guys have covered. I know electrical was one of the big worrisome spots for everybody. And it was our big concern too, because we were hearing 30 to 35 weeks for switchgear and new service. And we had AMS put in a meter for a week and basically test the system and see what it can handle. And between that and some of the equipment selections that Jason made, you're actually going to be lowering the meter. Basically, we're taking a little bit less, even though we thought we'd have a problem, but the efficiency of the equipment is actually going to help. And then obviously, if you look at solar in the future, that's going to help a ton because that's going to actually reduce a lot more of the consumption. So.
Right, yeah, I mean, just touching on the electrical piece, the size of the service to the building is typically on the border of, do you feel comfortable being able to add cooling to this? So being able to kind of do a deeper dive on utility analysis and utility draw was a big portion of what we were doing. So the reason it's working out in your favor is a lot of the equipment that you guys are getting are high efficiency, so lower consumption, lower demand charges, being able to controls. So I have a counterpart in our controls department that also helps us develop schedules and develop sequences to implement in the building. So that really just means your building can kind of operate and start up on its own in a very smart manner so that you're not loading up everything at once. So that's something that we're implementing in the building. So you're going to have air conditioning completely throughout. You're going to save in insulating all the ducted piping work, which is currently all uninsulated. Your classrooms you'll see a considerable difference. We're going to be implementing ECM relief air fans, which are going to promote airflow throughout the classroom so that you'll have a clear path of outside air in and that relief air out. So no more stagnant smells, no more air that's feeling stale. That's going to be moving very well. And that helps promote, obviously, a better learning environment for your kids.
It'll be new casework in the classroom, so the teachers are going to have some actually nice working bookshelves and cases and different things to actually store some of their stuff versus what we like to call those horizontal bookcases that they were using before with the units, because those are all being replaced with newer versions, but we're actually going to clean up the room. It's going to look like a brand new classroom without having to do a brand new classroom. And so some real advantages to that.
There's also a factor I forgot to mention on the electrical portion. If you're considering a solar project, what that really does also, what they're kind of doing at a utility scale is implementing solar to help stabilize the grid. So kind of local to your building, a solar project helps stabilize demand and inrush current from ComEd into the building. And so what that helps do is offset that. And then you're obviously not going to be having school during the summer, but using an agreement with ComEd, you'd be able to sell back your power that you've accumulated in the summer months. So that's a really, that's actually
kind of spins the meter.
Right.
The meter spins backwards when you're producing the most, and then when you need it in the fall, the winter, the spring, catches back up. But I assume once the AC project is done, you'll be doing summer school back at Stanton again.
Sure.
So there'll still be some of the grid with their AC now. So
right.
It would be much happier.
And one last thing on the chiller here, it was fairly oversized from what we're typically seeing. So less stages of turning on and off. And be like people would have turning the light switch on and off whenever you need light. So what the new chiller that we've selected here allows for kind of turning up and down to adjust to the load properly in the building. So that's a huge advantage if you have, and then you don't have that massive inrush of current, you're turning up a massive piece of equipment. Yeah, so as controls, you'll be able to, we're giving you guys a new, at Stanton, a new EAS, a new front-end server, so you'll have remote access to everything too, so all the points that you're getting with new equipment is going to be written to the building automation system, and then that way, something happens, it'll be able to alert, and you just have to get the building in order to check on it, so a lot more flexibility. We'll be implementing our sequences so that you guys can see, so all energy efficiency based.
Yeah, we're setting things up for the future as well. When you replace new equipment, it's going to be able to tie into that. Even some of the infrastructure that's needed, some of the piping, the wiring, things like that, are all going to be taken care of now. So it would just be a lot simpler in the future to replace something, which will help kind of ease the transition of, hey, this piece of equipment is bad. Because not everything's being replaced in this first phase.
Questions?
Yeah.
A couple of questions. Obviously, you can hear the refrigerator going behind you. What do you mean? Exactly. Have you guys taken into consideration the sound in the classrooms? And obviously, we're moving some more air. Have you sized the equipment properly so that we don't have rushes of air, velocity of air issues, or anything like that? I mean, is that
so
part of the design?
I'll let Jason answer from a technical perspective, and I will tell you from an overall classroom perspective. Typically, our first goal would be to put in a vertical ducted unit, diffusers, silent, you wouldn't even know it's on, and the whole system would be working great. With the ceilings, the way the system is set up and how the classrooms are, we couldn't do that. Right. So no matter what, we were just going to be putting in kind of a one direct flow. It would be coming from above versus below. With lead times, all kinds of other things, we went back. But the difference being the newer equipment, the new units that we're doing are much better than what you're replacing. So we can't give you the noise guarantee that we normally would, because we're not doing exactly how we would really want to, but we'd have to reconfigure the entire classroom, the ceilings, everything. We thought that expense plus the timing of those units being 22, 24 weeks was going to be a big problem, especially if you want the building back. So as we went to the decision, put in the units we are. They will not sound like that, and we are conscious of it, and they are going to be there's going to be ductwork, right. So they should be a lot better. A lot better.
Yeah, that unit has a compressor in it right now, so you're hearing that compressor turn on. We've split that out, so everything's gonna be located on, you will have a refrigerant coil inside of the unit in the classroom, but all of the compression that's taking place with the refrigerant gases is taking place out of it. So that sound goes out. It's not very loud. If you're on the roof, you might notice it kind of turning on. You probably hear the fan more than anything out there. Much like the condensers at home, you guys would have at home. So if you hear something.
So is there gonna be sound insulation in the ductwork?
It's just piping that'll come down.
No, but you said there's gonna be ductwork, right? You can line that ductwork to.
So on
reduce sound.
so are you talking about, so there's two solutions. On the east wing, you're gonna have ductwork with PAU boxes, and that's all gonna be served by a larger rooftop unit. So all of that's getting insulated, and you're gonna have a VFDM fan in that unit. That's gonna be also out on the roof, so you won't hear anything in the classroom spaces. And then in the classrooms with unit vents, no ductwork, it's going to be similar to kind of the situation you have where air is blowing out of the top of the unit and then kind of coming in through.
But they're newer, so they should be a lot better.
They have ECM fans, so they turn up and down instead of just popping on and off like other pieces of equipment.
And then condensation?
Condensation is being taken care of by routing it straight out, routing it to janitor's closets on the first level, and on the second level, we have little giant condensate pumps, which will cut out if they ever alarm. But that's pumping condensate back to probably the boiler room area. Sort of thing.
Last solution was to have.
We actually like to have not have pumps, but being below grade, you're going to have something down in that area.
Okay. And then for the building automation system, are you just tying into the equipment, or are you going to have additional points? And
we'll have additional points because that equipment will be able to read more points, send out more signals. We're going to have a supply air discharge set points that we'll be able to run that supply air temperature back up on days where it's sensing spaces in the classroom, staying level throughout the day, maybe it's cooling outside a little bit. Additionally, we should be in the VAE areas monitoring the CO2 as well. So in each classroom, you'd be able to do on the rooftop demand control ventilation. So you'd be able to, I guess maybe outside of COVID times, or if we feel more comfortable with that, you can run your outside air down, monitor the CO2 in the classroom, adjust accordingly at the unit level as to what's appropriate for that.
it's pretty advanced.
Yeah, no, you're getting a really good system. Yeah. And if you have questions about the VCUs versus what we've had, I actually walked this school and there are some really good examples of where you could implement that, and then you can go to the second level and see where it might make sense not to do that. So I can walk you guys back there at a certain point later today if you want to. Do that.
I don't think we want to scope it. Thanks.
Okay.
I have two questions. I don't know if you said it again, I'm sorry. So you said stagnant air, it made me think of bathrooms, locker rooms, gym.
Yeah.
Is there air conditioning in those spaces?
Yes, so the gymnasium's gonna get air conditioning. You're gonna transfer air into the locker rooms, and then you're gonna have new exhaust relief fans for those spaces too. So new bathroom exhaust relief fans, those are probably gonna be on, off, so unoccupied, occupied. And then same with locker rooms, and then the gymnasium area as well. So new equipment there too.
And then next summer, if we do have summer school, let's say we're only using part of the school, can we turn the air on just part of the school, or is it turn on?
In the classrooms, you'd be able to control down to the individual classroom. If you're part of a larger VAE system that's running throughout, basically, if you think about the east end of the building, you could set certain rooms unoccupied and then have other areas listed as occupied, and those would be your primary zones. So the rooftop unit would be trying to maintain two different temperatures, and as long as that was okay, yeah, you'd be able to run the fan back down a little bit and back down to the cooling too. So yeah, you will be able to do a portion of that and then move your setback down.
And then lastly, just maybe think of the custodians be given some sort of training on that kind of operation.
As many people that want the training can have it, yeah. We can work with that, obviously, but you also, there's different levels. How many people do you want to be able to make changes and things like that, so.
Stop pointing at Michelle.
Thank you.
But we'll do a lot of on-site training, our group will come out.
Can you set up like kind of some generic programming so you can basically be, occupied versus unoccupied? I mean, I assume you can program this in the calendar, but it seems to be
Yeah, absolutely. So you can have daily programs, weekdays versus weekends.
Different hours of the
holidays.
day,
Yeah.
when you want to come online in the morning to cool it down, because you don't need to cool obviously all night. When you want to stop cooling, the flexibility is going to be endless, and the fact is Don's going to be able to do a lot of it remotely. He's not going to go to each classroom or each piece of equipment to do things. It'll all be done computer, phone, things like that.
Right, it'll sense weather in the local area, so you'll be able to take advantage of free cooling when it's 55 degrees outside. You don't need to run any compressors, but maybe you need a little bit additional cooling in the afternoon. You'll be able to take more outside air.
So if we just grab more outside air.
Right, yeah.
I guess with the whole project, so the one chiller you're gonna replace over there and on the west side and the east side over at Stanton, it's all per classroom unit, so nothing's going on the roof. Anything, no new spots on the roof, equipment.
Actually, a lot.
On the east side, you wouldn't have any new spots on the roof. That's where you would take that rooftop unit off. We demo out, put a new curb in, and put in the gymnasium area, same thing. You can take off the old one, put up the new one, and then in that west area with the classrooms, we would be mounting, they'd almost look like residential condensing units on the roof, and then some additional exhaust fans to ventilate each classroom. So each classroom kind of operates standalone.
With the new equipment then, are you going through the roof with some electrical?
There are
and
going to
fence?
be, yeah, so there will be some through the roof penetration, so there will be some mounting to make sure when you have wind shear on your equipment that it's fastened to the roof. But everything that we do is requiring that the roofing contractor approve the re-roof mechanisms there too. So they're going to come back out and re-warranty your roof because you just invested in it.
Right. Okay. Questions? Is it gonna be done on time?
What time frame?
We're gonna talk about the calendar next.
Before
So-
school starts, that time frame.
It will be challenging
Yeah.
to accomplish.
Before school is going to be done. We think before the end of cooling season, you will have cooling. That's our hope.
And there's going to be spaces that are going to be ready ahead of time to do this. So all of the stuff that's going to take place in the classrooms will take place this summer. And so we get the equipment, especially the unit ventilators, we get those, we can set them in the classroom right away. And then they're ready to go. We just need to figure out when we're going to get that condensing unit to be mounted on the roof. And then there may be a period where we beat the schedule, but you're not fully up to full automation. You may be running in hand, is what they kind of say. So kind of running on off, for a period of time. And if we can get those rooftop units, then same thing, you can get cooling as soon as those things can get powered up.
We're not going to wait. We'll turn over whatever we can when we can. Obviously, we have to work with the building staff as well because you need the classrooms back. There's got to be cleaning. We recognize all that. We'll put together a pretty extensive plan. We have a large operations team.
Well, we should mention too that logistically, we've been approving submittals this week, and so the timing has to work where we're in the queue to order the equipment, but then also have a official contract. So we've moved in the sense that we've reserved a spot online, and then we can just pull the trigger and order it right away.
Everybody recognizes how we want to move fast, but one thing again with how we do, we're going to do fast as we can, but we're also not going to make mistakes. And so we don't want to have to come back because we messed it up because we were trying to go too quickly. But again, we usually do meet our projections. It's just hard. I don't want to promise you anything. I would feel bad having to come back and say, sorry. Now I can tell you for sure, we're going to be in the buildings probably till the end of the year, for sure. Because we're still going to have control work. There's still going to be all kinds of other stuff that's going on. But our hope, as long as the equipment is, we're getting the equipment when they say we are going to get the equipment, that you're going to have cooling before the end of cooling season.
Yeah, you touched on something too. Everyone's kind of associating this as a cooling project, but we're really kind of taking controls ownership of the heating system too.
Right.
So that's what we're in the background, changing out valves or changing out pumps so that in the future you can run at a variable volume pumping and all of a sudden it's on-demand heating when you need it and you're not just running your pumps full out, turning them on and off. So that's a component that, we're very cognizant of.
Just one other question going back to the electrical. So it sounds like we don't really need to spend a ton of money on that as we originally planned.
Right.
So is that reduction in what the price that we're seeing here, or is that, do we see that reduction later?
No, that was already done ahead of time. We had them put the meters in so that we would be able to know ahead of time. This conversation would have gone a lot differently if we didn't get the good news from those meters. And so we were quite worried about what the plan would be in terms of what we could get done if we had to put it up. Because the big problem is you're waiting on ComEd. Everything could be ready to go. ComEd could 2 months, 3 months, could be 3 days or 5 weeks, could be completely out of our control. So hearing that you don't need the big upgrade right now, I think eventually, depending on, that's something to look at, but you would want to set that up in the right time, right? You would approve that early so that it's ready to go for the beginning of summer at some point if that's necessary, instead of waiting, because they were talking about October, mid-October, end of October for equipment. And that's not even to get ComEd to come in and do what they need to do. So.
Anybody have any other questions right now?
Just from a management perspective, I assume you'll have somebody from your team there.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll need a lot of your team.
Well, I just
We
think
will
it's
have.
important.
So what exactly would that look like? Because in our last project, we had people in the same seats saying the same thing.
Well, I don't know what they were
And that
promising.
didn't happen. So
but-
and it doesn't matter what they promise, I'm
Sure.
just telling you, we heard a similar song and dance. So specifically,
So we have.
what will it look like in terms of your
we will have
presence and management on the site?
1 to 2 PMs here. They'll be here almost every day, if not every day. Along with AMS, we'll also have kind of their supervisor as well, and those guys will be working hand in hand throughout the project. We will constantly have patrol people here. Our presence is at some points almost overwhelming, just because we manage every aspect.
Well, we have weekly on-site instruction. Besides that, usually myself, and I might have another engineer punching the job because we're trying to get into areas, get it open, prove what's been done, close that area up, move to the next one. So I would expect I can go 2 to 3 times a week at least, and that's just my role. I would think that PMs, one guy's gonna be here every day at least 8 hours. So it's gonna take that. It's gonna be a large lift. So
Yeah, we're anticipating some extra work, outside of the typical hours of the day as well. We kind of planned on, hey, we're gonna need to work some weekends, we're gonna work weekends. We're gonna need to work some into the night. Once we get to that point, which is coming, do a big kickoff meeting, and we'll go through everything. We'll figure out your schedule, what you need. I think you're giving us the building, which is great. But if you're not, then we need to know. And obviously the offices are different.
No, but we're
We think
giving
we
you the
can-
building for the summer. We're moving everything other than the office function over here for all of summer school, anything summer related.
That's great, because then anything we can get going on, even at, second school we will. And so our company is huge on customer satisfaction. There's going to be it takes less than 30 seconds to fill out. There's a survey that will come out 4 or 5 times throughout the project. It's about as serious of a thing as our company takes. The second somebody fills it out, it gets passed on to 15 different people. So all the project team, then all the management, the owner and everybody in Indiana. And they look at what everybody says because their opinion is you can tell people, and when they're on staff, you might say, but somebody writing something, it might go a lot farther. Maybe you don't want to say something to somebody's face, but you write it down. So if there's any problems like that, that stuff happens. I will tell you that the presence that you will see, though, will be like nothing else you've experienced. I would also highly recommend, as you know, call some of our references, and they will tell you the same thing. The reason we do so many phases of projects is because of the level of we care. One, we're guaranteeing it, but two, we want it to be done right and on time. And so I'm excited about the group that you have. We have one of our senior supervising PMs overseeing one of our other great PMs that's going to be doing our project. We're up here a lot. We have a lot of other work in the area as well, so we're going to be here. Yep.
So you've spent a lot of time, you've looked at the building, EMS has been in the building, laser scanned the building. Unforeseen conditions, are we at 0 now?
It's construction. We can't say 0. We can't say that we're not going to run into problems. We can't say that we're not going to have issues with the equipment, its electrical, its components, all that. What you are in for is if. Price is the price. It will never go down unless you come back to us and add scope. Otherwise, this is it. We have taken into account what we believe. We've done a lot of work up front. Again, Jason's been out here many times in the last couple of months, and AMS has been out here quite a bit. We've partnered with AMS on other projects. They know how we work as well. They can't come to us later and say, hey, we missed something, go back to the district. Well, we missed it. We'll take care of it. So things that could come up, and they probably will, you just won't know about it because we're going to handle it.
Okay, you said it in front of all these people.
Yeah.
It's on recording.
Yeah, that one should be recorded for sure.
And so with the project kickoff, will be a timeline projection anyways that we'll see, and on these weekly meetings that you're going to have, that timeline will be updated.
Absolutely.
And shared with
us.
One
of the first things we're, again, is getting confirmation on some of the equipment. As
Yeah.
soon as we
Yeah, I
have
understand that.
confirmation on when they're saying now, again, let's hope that there's nothing that changes that. And when they, we have quite a bit of buying power between the equipment manufacturers that we use. So we're not only in Illinois, but we are in 7 other states. So usually if we say, hey, we need something, you told us this is a date, they're pretty good. Not always. Some are worse than others. Trained. We'll say trained is sometimes difficult, but this year's been harder than normal because of everything that we've just come through. The pandemic and shipping and equipment costs and everything. So that plan will be a flexible plan though, and it will be, again, a lot of, this is what we see, this is what we can do, but things change. And if you tell us, hey, something came up and we really need this part of the building or this classroom first, great, we'll make the switch. We're quite flexible when it comes to that, but that whole plan will be presented to, obviously pass on to you guys as well. We're more than welcome to be at the meeting. We'll offer do a presentation to all the teachers as well and tell them what we're doing. We call that a stakeholder meeting. You guys want as well. More people that are informed and understand, the more excited they'll be, and then when they walk into their classrooms, it's surprised.
I think that's everything for
I
right
think
now.
they will enjoy not having to geometrically position fans for the ideal airflow. Like we can imagine thinking like the number of classrooms we've been in, to there's this one here, to this one, it's like matrix from the fans.
You probably have to take into account all that electricity saved.
Right.
Did anybody have any, I know solar was kind of ancillary, but if anybody had any questions about that?
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Flip it.
Okay. So if there are no other questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the contract as presented, which will be subject to our attorney's review and approval.
I'll make motion.
Yeah, motion by Roger. Second by Jen. Please poll the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Mrs. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes, motion passes.
All right.
Okay. Wonderful, thank you. That's great.
Get us all here.
Good thing.
Another stuff.
Bring it, Hens.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Someone else can sit up there.
All right.
All right, playground.
Thank you guys for your
project.
time.
Okay, thank you.
And Jason, make sure you give Jeff your coffee order. He'll get it for you all summer.
I get a picture with Jeff now, so.
He's a hugger.
And a hug,
He's
yeah.
a hugger.
He's a hugger.
You're
Be
close.
careful.
Other questions do come up, please, we're always available. So.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, you guys, yep, okay, talk to you soon. So I have one more update, actually, a couple more. So Jeff and the committee, some students put together a design on some playground equipment. The backfield, we have some equipment that's kind of old and unused, and so we were looking at changing out that equipment to be, it's called FitCore. So it's kind of a playground, kind of fitness area. And so we did get a quote on that, and if you remember, Jeff got the donation of $20,000 for the playground specifically. So the quote came in at about $38,000 for the equipment, and then another $10,800 for installation. And so that will be that whole area with timbers outlining the perimeter of it. And then we also got a price quote on something that we would consider phasing in, doing a smaller equipment for smaller kids. So if the community wanted to use that as a playground, we would have that available for them.
And Jeff, that was important to the kids.
Right. That was a kid's idea.
Actually, at least the kids we are recommending.
Yeah.
We have 8 kids, 2 from each grade level. First things we did this year was talk about the playground. Make sure that my idea matched the kids' idea, and it did. And so the first thing they wanted to make sure was they took care of the community. And so like the playground, almost like out here at Lotus, plus middle school age or high school age equipment as well. And so they really, when you talk about fiscal responsibility, they didn't ask for Taj Mahal because there were some really expensive, cool pieces of equipment. They eliminated a lot of that. And I was surprised and impressed by the way they thought about others, not just themselves, and then, what we really afford as our district to keep middle school kids happy too as well. Really cool to watch the kids work.
So we're putting all that together. We put on our summer project list, which is something we're trying to get put together right now. We're looking at Lotus Library, also doing some painting, a couple of other things that we're trying to develop now for our summer list. Most of it will be here at Lotus. Some of it will be like the playground will be over at Stanton, which should stay out of the way of the HVAC project as well. So, but just wanted to bring that to your attention, that we want to use that $20,000 this year to start purchasing some of that equipment and getting that area ready. We think that we would be able to use Bobcat and prep that area ourselves and pull out the old equipment. So that would save us a lot of money too, instead of having someone come in and demolish. There's pea gravel there now. Some of it will probably stay, but some of it will probably have to be pulled out. And then we would put mulch in there as well, for the soft.
So budgeting wise, what's going to be in this fiscal year? What's going to be in next fiscal year? And is it already in the budget for the difference?
None of this is in the budget for this year, except we have that $20,000 donation. So we can look up to that $20,000. And then equipment is about 6 to 8 weeks out, which I would probably think 8 to 10 maybe. So that would probably fall into the next fiscal year.
And which fund is that going to come out of?
We can mix that between Fund 20 and Fund 60. I want to make sure that we have enough in Fund 60 to take care of all the rest of our projects that we have on our docket. So
Fund 60 for these guys is
which is the capital projects, which is what all the referendum money went into. It is a capital improvement, so I mean, we are capable of taking it out of there because that's a restricted fund. But I think most of that would probably come out of O&M right now. I have to take a look at all the totals when we get to that point. But also, like I said, I want to make sure that we have enough money to complete everything that's on our list for stamp and for the referendum.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And that's why we had talked about phasing in the smaller kids' play area. Maybe possibly getting some donations from the community on that. So that would probably not be next fiscal year, probably the year after that.
So while we appreciate the kids' kindness and thinking of others, the primary users of that playground will be the students at Stanton. So I think we can do an and where we have community-based little kid stuff, but the first users, the daily users would be our 5th through 8th graders. And conversely, if we only had little kid equipment with middle schoolers out there, I don't know that that's the best plan. So I think this is a good and.
More to come on it. Yep. We're just in the very beginning.
All right.
Okay. Are you done yet?
I think I am.
Okay. All right, administrative reports. So like I said, you have an updated personnel report. Again, for the board's attention, there is no resolution. The new agenda reflects that. So let's take a peek at the personnel report and the accompanying exhibits that go with it. We have a series of resignations for consideration, all of them effective at the end of the school year. So the first I'd bring to the board's attention is Al Giandonato, who is a super custodian at Stanton, and his letter of resignation intent for the end of the school year is in the packet. So I would ask for a motion to approve that resignation at the end of the year.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Nanette.
I'll second.
And second by Roger. Please pull the board.
Mrs. Keeskin?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Next resignation in the packet is from Anna Smith, who's been our super permanent sub this year. She is, I hope, going back to finish her PEL.
Yes.
To get her student teaching done and kind of wrap that up. She's done a great job for us this year. So she's resigning at the end of the year to finish out those credentials.
You're looking for a motion to approve that?
No regret, I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Roger, second by Andy. Please pull the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeskin?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Okay, motion passes.
Next on the list for the board's consideration, we have a letter of resignation from Tiffany McGranahan. Tiffany is a Lotus teacher. She's been on a year's leave of absence this year to try being a stay-home mom, and has decided that she really likes it. In addition, they are considering a full relocation. So I know this was a tough decision for her because she loves teaching, she loves Lotus, but there's just a lot happening in life. So it is with regret that she gave us her resignation, and with equal regret that I would put forth for the board's consideration.
Okay.
I make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Roger, second by Andy. Please pull the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Keesman?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Next, you have a letter of resignation for consideration from Grant Chapman, who's a social worker at Stanton. After being at Stanton, he's decided he wants to pursue some other opportunities. So again, these are all with regret. Good people. I'd bring this one for the board's consideration.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Nanette,
I'll second.
second by Jen. Please pull the board.
Mrs. Keesman?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes, motion passes.
Next is Ashley Palmer, sixth grade teacher at Stanton. Lots happened in her life, and again, she's opting to head in some new directions and explore other options.
Looking for that motion.
I make a motion. I second.
Motion by Ken, second by Roger. Please pull the board.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Keesman?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Lauren Redding has submitted her letter of resignation for the board's consideration. Lauren has been in one of our quite complex special education classrooms here at Lotus. She has been a trooper throughout the year. In fact, beginning the year after knee surgery, so she has come in and really given 110%. But again, is looking to pursue some different options.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Andy, second by Kent. Please pull the board.
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Keesman?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, and last on tonight's list, and I sure hope to be bringing forward happier news and hires when we start the April meeting, but this is the last resignation for the board's consideration this evening, and that is Maria Jordan, a special education here in our special education early childhood room. Again, just you see in her letter here, there's a lot going on there, so she wants to explore some things for herself.
Make a motion.
Motion by Andy,
Second.
second by Ken. Please pull the board.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keesman?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
All right, so I have for the board's consideration, on the far right column, you see unfilled positions for 21-22, and then the starting list for 22-23. Those unfilled positions reflect only the resignations as are indicated here. They don't reflect the staffing plan because I'm bringing forward a tentative staffing plan at this point just for information. Not asking the board to take action on this yet because there's still a lot happening. So typically for our new board members, what I do in the month of March is bring forward as much as we know at this point in time, which is what is reflected here. In April, it gets much more firm around the certified staff, and typically by May, we're very certain around the support staff. I anticipate in the April meeting, we'll be certain on all of that. So what you have in Exhibit J then, Exhibit J, no matter what the order is, Exhibit J is a tentative staffing plan. I know you've had a chance to look through it. What I would stress is that we're thrilled to be planning for full in-person for 22-23, which needs to be in bold and in red. So you see the staffing projections here. There is really, the changes that you see reflect changes in enrollments. Predominantly, we try to really be thoughtful about our section counts and look at both what makes sense in terms of number of kids in a classroom and also number of sections we need to run. And that becomes a point I want to make real clear for Stanton, particularly at 6th grade. So Stanton's current 5th grade is running at 4 quite small sections of kids. Rolling those students up to 6th grade, Jeff, Rochelle, and I have talked, and we would bring forward the strong consideration to keep those 4 sections at 6th grade from a master scheduling perspective. When you start creating grade levels of 3 at a middle school with 4 core content areas, that means you now start splitting the content that teachers teach, and it has a domino effect on the other grade levels. And one thing we think has been a real strength of the master schedule at Stanton this year is having teachers teach predominantly, well, all of them teach a content area and almost just a few teach more than one grade level, which allows them the time to focus in their preparation, collaborate really purposely. Not that they didn't always, but it's much easier to collaborate on math than I gotta teach math and I gotta teach science. And how do I divide my time during that precious early release time each Wednesday? We had people running around pretty crazy doing the best that they could to accomplish that. So with that said, then you see the Stanton numbers roll across. We have that really large 8th grade cohort of students this year heading off to Grant, which is why we go from 5 to 4 at 8th grade. We do have some shift in special education simply because our caseload continues to become a little bit more complicated. And you see, I did break out in this year's tentative report something I haven't done in the past, which is purchase service from the ELC for those specialty positions. And that's found on page, put your glasses on, Heather, on page 6. So there aren't huge changes there with the exception of an increase in our behavior support in the BCBA position, going from 0.8, so about 4 days a week, up to a full 1.0. And I point that out to the board because the increase in special education and the increase in that behavior position are specifically designed to help our students with identified special needs. Getting better at that in-house means that we send fewer kids out of our house, which is better for them, better for their families, better for our community, and better from a fiscal perspective. Because if you look at the accounts payable each month and see the combination of tuition and transportation, and the fact if you look at the treasurer's report, some of the accounts where SPED is, where transportation is, it's over budget. So the better job we can do in-house, first of all, the better it is for kids, which is always our compass point, but fiscally it's also better all around. So that explains some of the adjustments in here. Are there any questions on the tentative? Please know that in April, I'll bring you a projected firm for the board's approval. This is just kind of a first glance through things.
Do you have a projected total enrollment student number?
I have the demographic report and then I have trend data. What it would indicate is that we stay pretty steady right at about 650 total.
Doesn't look like it's picking up.
No, no. Okay.
Any other questions?
Like I said, I'll bring you for approval next month. This is just the first cursory glance. All right. Then, as you can see, March is always when we start thinking really strategically about the next school year. So the next thing for the board's consideration would be student fees. So this is typically how it looks every year. And so I'll get to the short of it and say that the proposal is to keep fees exactly where they have been. I don't think it's right to ask our community for more, given everything right now. Mary, thank you for the update on the fiscal year progressions and what fees have looked like. I will tell you that our fees are quite competitive compared to other local districts, if not less. So it would be my recommendation, and this is something I would be asking for approval for, because firming up and approving the fees allows us to open registration, and we're having a registration meeting tomorrow. Typically, one of the things that we've taken a lot of pride in is moving that registration from the summer, which is where it was when I started, up into the spring to allow us to better adjust sectioning, better project who's coming in, get better candidates earlier for the multitude of positions that we end up having. So this is something I would be bringing forward for the board's approval this evening.
So Mary, a quick question on the outstanding fees, which seem to be running about 30% of the total. That's stuff that we just don't even bother collecting, or how does that work?
We still do, and we end up sending out invoices monthly via email, but we'll probably send them out an actual copy here within the next month, just because we see it more of an influx when we start the registration process. So we're hoping to still collect some of those, and especially after tax returns come back, we'll see a pickup.
So,
What
Well, they should have been paying with their advanced child tax credit. July through December.
What is the basis of these fees? What are they covering?
Everything that the kids have. So access to their technology, any of the curriculum materials they have.
And where's the shortfall comes? Because I think just even from a psychological standpoint, from people sitting in the audience, anyone that gets a tax bill and then says, oh, we're at a public school, I'm gonna hand you a fee, they start going, what's that about? So I would say bury it somewhere else, if it can be buried somewhere else. I just, how it's not allocated as a fee. I think it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, that they're paying look at their breakout on their tax form, and then they're gonna say, okay, well, we're gonna nickel and dime you on this. I know it's necessary money that takes care of necessary things, but I think there's a better way to skin that cat, personally, than saying, let's generate a fee.
Any idea you have would be great.
I
But
don't
right
know.
now,
That's what I'm asking.
Our only other avenue is real estate taxes or any money,
Well,
any money we
then-
get from the state, and we've already tapped into the real estate taxes with the bond levy.
So
And
this
we're
is
handcuffed when
an
it comes
above
to
and
the
beyond
levy.
fee.
We're handcuffed when it comes to the levy. We can only levy X percentage. We're tied to the property tax cap every year, tied to whatever real estate
And
growth we
what
have.
does the fee come out per student, it turns out?
Every school has fees. This fee's been here forever.
But what is the dollar figure on the fee?
It's right here.
That right.
What do you think of it? No, right? More fundraisers? I don't,
Well, we've tried to
kinda have
not
a
do
lot-
fundraisers, and in fact, this year
Well,
we're,
with COVID, no, but maybe that changes now.
so, but I think, to
Get
your
on the
point, I
roof.
think something strategically we could do is, you know, every year, once the fees are approved, I put them in the weekly family update, these are the fees that are coming, don't be surprised to see them in the registration process. But what I could do better, based on the comments that you're making, is to say exactly what the fees do, or how they're different than, I'm not gonna go into what your property taxes pay for, but specifically the fees are used to pay for these things, just to give a clearer understanding of why we ask and where those funds go, because that hasn't been something I've done, just honestly, because as a parent, we just, you pay school fees, it's just kind of, that you do, but we also just ask people to pass a referendum, we've done it, we're spending that money, I have no issue putting together some bullets and say, here's where your fees go.
I guess what's slightly unfortunate, kind of looking back a little bit, when we went to free lunch for everybody, all those fees went away for a lot of families. But now we're seeing that we're still not collecting 30% of these
And that
fees.
didn't change.
You think, you talk about doing it a different way. Well, okay, everybody's lunch money could have went to these fees instead.
I'll bite my tongue as hard as I can. I got opinions on that stuff as well, but that's for another time.
Okay, but what I will do is put some bullets on what the fees go to in our fiscals, that's fine.
Any other questions on school fees? If not, we're looking for a motion to approve the school fee setup as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Roger, second by Nanette. Please poll the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Keesman? Yes. Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Borowski?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Okay, motion passes.
One other question. The shortfalls, the fees that don't get collected, so do these people get sent to collections, or do we just, how does that get addressed?
We do our best to invoice them, we don't send them to collections.
Typically, we don't use collections. We offer payment plans, and it stays on the account until it just accumulates. So,
So once, do they get held up at graduation time with any accumulated fees?
No,
no, we can't do that.
Yeah,
They used to.
they used to.
and I won't have that happen.
You know, we've been very lenient on how they want to pay. Any way they want, it's fine. And, you know, we do find that there's extenuating circumstances, so we will waive those. So, you know, we have the ability to either, if their income is below a certain level, or, you know, if they just lost a job or something like that, we have the ability to waive things. But it will continue to come. But so we just offer, right now, we offer.
Are there projected, obviously, looking at the chart, there's fees across the board for different classes, age groups. So is there an annualized projection of what fees are going to be brought in based on?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the budget, is pretty much based on history, what we've collected. Some of those fees you see are a little bit different, like the sixth graders have a PE. Graduation form is, graduation gowns and caps are included in the eighth graders, so that's why it kind of fluctuates a little bit. So we like to make sure that those portions of the fees are paid, because that's money that we purchase an item for, and we're giving that to them. So, you know, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to tighten the screws, so to speak. But, you know, we continue to collect them throughout the year. So even though it might be $14,000 now, by the end of the school year, it's going to be a little bit less, because we do start collecting a little bit more when they see that we still have an outstanding balance coming, time to register. We did have a lot of people take advantage of the earlier registration of $20 off. We did quite a few. So, you know, changing it up, offering a little bit of an incentive actually helps too. Yeah.
Anything else? Good, Brian? Good.
Next on the agenda for board consideration is the calendar for next school year. So I'll give you a quick peek at background information. What you have shared here is the draft as it's seen by the public. I go through real quick some information just so you have it. So as always, we worked in calendar committee. I'm going to give you a short form version of how we got to the calendar proposal that we got to this evening. We had a committee, all staff were invited to join. You see the participants here. We had Amber and Cheryl from Lotus, and then Katie, Ryan, Dan, Mike, Lisa from Shannon, and none of the other administrators wanted to be on calendar committee. I don't know why. It's the most fun committee of the year. That's not true. I said this was an easy one for me to take because they do the hard work. So you see who participated, what's tight in terms of calendar creation, the rules that have been in place for the last several years. You see them here, 176 contact days, that started a couple years ago. In our contract, it's 180 teacher work days, maximum 4 institutes, and we still have some of that looser guidance around what a contact day means, which means our parent-student conferences, student-led conferences in particular, count as a contact day, and so does meet and greet on that first Wednesday when we come back to school. Oops. Thanks, Chrissy. And in terms of the process, the committee creates the options, staff gives input on those options, considers the input, makes a recommendation to the board, and the board approves the calendar. If we were considering something way wonky than we've typically done, we would consider far-reaching input, going out to other stakeholder groups. That wasn't something that was up for consideration this time because we just don't think anybody really has the capacity for too much change right now, and changing the calendar didn't seem to be a place we wanted to really fry too many eggs at this point in time. So that's why we stepped inside. What's tight, this already came through in terms of policy. You see all the holidays per school code with Juneteenth added, knowing that it's an off-paid holiday on a weekday, but it's not a paid holiday that falls on a weekend, and that's illustrated and different in school code than all the other holidays that you see listed here. So, in summary, what the committee came up with, I realize it's a little blurry, I'm happy to give you more documents on it, but basically, when we looked at about 7 different calendar models that the committee brainstormed, we boiled it down to 3 that we brought forward for staff communication. So we always want to match as close as we can to grant because we feel like that's best for our families. Now, knowing this year, we had already said from the get-go, we wanted to pad in a week later start to give more room for HVAC and the construction happening at Stanton. So that was a non-negotiable, and that does take us outside of grants realm. Basically, calendar A, the biggest conversation was around winter break, to be honest with you, because grant made a shift to go midweek to midweek rather than typical end of week to 2 full weeks off. So if we match to grant, you can see in yellow highlights here that we would dismiss for winter break at the close of the day on the 21st and have the 2 weeks off coming back on Wednesday the 4th, which there was some concern about coming back midweek. So in talking with the other elementary districts in Big Hollow and Gavin, we all came to the same kind of question about that with all of our calendar committees. So created a secondary option, which is the extended winter break, which is calendar B, that has us off at the same time of grant, but extending that winter break 2 days to come back on a Monday. Concern about who's going to show up on these 2 days, starting back midweek, was a question mark. And then the calendar committee really did want to explore the option of aligning our winter break to grant, but considering an extended Thanksgiving break to have the whole of Thanksgiving week off, which is something a lot of local districts do as well. There was a model that had both extended winter break and extended Thanksgiving break, and we looked at it and thought, that's way too much in terms of time off, and it's way too deep into the summer for everybody. So that was one that we took off the table and didn't even bring forward for staff input. So when we got, we kind of laid all the pieces together. In terms of quarter splits and trimesters and that kind of thing, one of the things we're always looking at is what's the last day of school for everybody, knowing that kids have sports, kids have camps, teachers have summer jobs, so kids used to have them. What does that look like? So this is what it falls out with no emergency days or with all emergency days factored into the calendar. As historically, we've kept Casimir Pulaski as that swap day, where if we need it as the first makeup day, we'll take it, but if we don't, like this year, it becomes a day off. So that's just kind of a crosswalk of everything. And when we got the staff input, 60% of our employees felt that calendar B was the option that they would most prefer. There were no real dissenting opinions from the committee. And so with that, we bring forward option B for the board's consideration this evening, which is laid out for you in the formal format. And with that, I would welcome any questions from the board on the proposed calendar.
So with the winter break, it looks like it's 12 days. Is that what
Correct.
it's normally been in the past?
No, it's been 10.
Don't fix Christmas, man.
It's been the flat 10 days. The concern with the 10 days with alignment to grant is Wednesday to Wednesday. So what I can tell you is that Gavin's calendar is this with the extension. Big Hollow's is not. It matches exactly to grant. So the calendar committees in the districts just had different input on that.
Is there any concern about the parents having to take extra time off with a couple of days, or parents are going to stay home? Like my wife, for example, takes off 2 weeks, period. I know a lot of families can't do that, but now that's an extra couple days that we have to cover personally.
I know,
as well.
and we weighed that
Other
out.
families will have
Yeah.
the same issue. I
Yeah.
don't care what grants do, to be honest with you. But that one seemed, that calendar seemed the most reasonable of the three that we looked at.
And I think the concern from an elementary district perspective was what we would anticipate would happen is that people would tend to extend that break regardless. And we would have a real low attendance on those 2 days of return.
Yeah, no,
I guess if you look at the calendar as a whole though, even though it's 2 extra days in December, it's not 2 extra days later on where she
They
would
come
maybe
back
have
in
to be
June.
off.
Right.
So in total it's the same.
Yeah, but I get the point of timing. It's
Yeah.
another
Right.
couple of days for families. And that was a pro-con that we did talk about.
Any other questions, observations on the calendar?
Nope.
Nope. If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Roger, second by Nanette. Please poll the board.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Just for clarity, none of this changes at the bottom, right?
None of that changes, no. Okay, so we have policies up for review. Are there any questions on the revised policies? The only changes in these from the drafts that I sent you last time, I had Maddie go through them line by line to make sure they align exactly with what's in the collective bargaining agreement. Because some of the language in here referred to 10, which is 10 sick days, and we have different numbers. So I had her go through and make sure that what's in policy aligns with what's in our collective bargaining agreement.
So no other questions. I'd be looking for the approval of policies, chapter 5, 185, 220, 250, and 330. Motion by Jen.
Second.
Second by Andy. Please poll the board.
You don't need that. You can do it all in favor there.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes.
Okay, and then we have a first read on new policies. This completes section 6 of the never-ending press review, just in time to probably get the next one. So 615 has updated language regarding what's already in place with the school report card. It just says what data has to be reflected in the school report card now, so you see that outlined here. 620 updates with holidays, that Muhammad Ali's birthday is a commemorative holiday. The first week in April is indicated as Autism Acceptance Week. Again, it's a commemorative holiday. And then Juneteenth as an official holiday, and that's already been approved in prior policy. 650 is something we already have in place, which is school participation in federal programs to develop a food sharing plan. We already do this with our summer serves, so this is just an alignment.
Federal or state?
It is federal.
And what date?
June 19th. Is that correct? 19?
19.
So
Thank
it
you.
doesn't affect school.
Correct. It would affect our 12-month hourly employees. But not our summer certified salaried staff. But I mean, unless it's a weekday and we have the day off. But in terms of pay, it doesn't. Where are we now? Instruction 6120 is education of children with disabilities. So this is just updated for continuous improvement. There are absolutely no changes required in our practices at all. And then 6180 is instruction in extended programs, which just says that districts can offer things like nursery schools, which we wouldn't. So I will revise this to pull out things. So sometimes you'll have high schools that offer embedded kind of early childhood programs for high school students that are interested in teaching, and then they host preschool kids on site. Before and after care programs, you see them listed here. So again, this wouldn't be us bringing forward any programming changes. This just allows us to consider those things. And then 6340 is updated requirements for kindergarten assessments to make sure that districts provide scores to the families for those state assessments. And so once we get the kids assessment going again and some of the pieces that haven't necessarily been in place from the state's perspective, that is something we always do, is make sure that parents get the scores from their students' assessments. So those would be the policies to close out the 6 series. Any questions on those? Like I said, I'll polish them up to make sure that they fit us for final review. All right. Info items you should have in your stuff. The Constitution and position statements, it looks like that. Everybody should have gotten a copy of that for your light reading. Other business.
Any questions on this? No. I'm going to quiz you guys right now.
All right, and I have no other business or dates of note at this point in time unless the board does. All right. And we do have closed session this evening, my friends.
Okay. Looking for a motion to go into closed session for the discussion of potential litigation, confidential employee matters, and student matters.
Make the motion.
Motion by Andy,
I'll second.
second by Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, motion carries at 8:44.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody who joined us virtually.
Just a reminder to statement of economic interest coming out. You have to fill out email.
May 1st.
I am.
$15 penalty